Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving on to trig. For some of you, you've seen this before. For some of you, this is brand new. So we're starting with basic trig functions. We're going to do some definitions and some basic problems. And then we're going to move on to the next lesson, which will just be solving right triangles using trig. And then next week will be story problems using trig. So you kind of know where we're going in the trig area. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to go ahead and start with some definitions and some pictures. Here we go. So angle of reference. The angle being referred to. So in trig, the angle being referred to in this case will never be the 90-degree angle. So we're never talking about the right angle. So I have two different triangles over here because my angle of reference can either be angle A, or it could be angle B, two different angles. So that's why we have that two different triangles here, because technically we can have two different angles of reference, angle A or angle B. Hypotenuse, most of you guys should know what this is since you've done Pythagorean theorem. So you should know which one is the hypotenuse. So here we go. So it is the side opposite the right angle. And I always think about this. So this is how I kind of tell if you guys need some help with that. Here's my little right angle sign, and it kind of forms an arrow that points to my hypotenuse. And if you look in both of them, it does that. An angle that points to the hypotenuse. And opposite also means it goes through the triangle. So here's my hypotenuse. Okay. So there's my hypotenuse. Okay, so my next definition is adjacent, and this means the side that makes the angle of reference with the hypotenuse. That makes the angle of reference with the hypotenuse. Okay, so I'm going to show you with each side. I think I have a highlighter here. So the angle of the side adjacent that makes the so I'm going to go back and just kind of highlight also my hypotenuse on each one of these. So this is my hypotenuse, sorry. And now I'm going to highlight this adjacent side. So the definition says it makes the angle of reference. So on the one I've got marked angle A, the one that makes the angle is this side. And then the one that makes the angle is this side, makes angle B. So notice my adjacent side can be different. So this is adjacent. I'm just going to abbreviate that ADJ over here too. ADJ. And just so you guys know, hypotenuse is abbreviated HYP, so we don't have to write that out every time anymore. HYP, hypotenuse. Okay. And I think we have one more definition, which is the side opposite, and it's pretty easy. It says the side opposite the angle of reference. Okay, so it's the side opposite the angle of reference. So if this is my angle of A is my angle of reference in this triangle, it's the side opposite. Opposite means I go through the triangle. And if this is angle B and I have to go through the triangle to get to the opposite side, I'm going to highlight that opposite side. Here we go. Opposite and opposite. Okay, and I'm going to abbreviate opposite just OPP. Opposite. Okay, so this is where most people get into trouble when they're talking about trig, is deciding which side's opposite and adjacent. And it really depends on what angle that I'm talking about. So if I'm talking about this angle, that's why I always mark it. You notice I put a mark through my angle. This is angle A, and this is angle B. Notice the hypotenuse didn't change on either triangle, but what did change is which side was opposite and which side was adjacent. So I need to pay attention to my angle. The adjacent side helps make the angle, and the opposite side is opposite or through the triangle opposite of that angle from the angle. So it's opposite, the side opposite of the angle. It does not make the angle. Okay, so I'm not sure how else to say that. I hope that makes sense. If you have questions, please get a hold of me, because if that part does not make sense, trig will be the hardest thing for you guys. You have to understand what side is opposite and what side is adjacent. And I'll show you when we start doing work that I'm always going to be marking my angles all the time, so you can find out which one's opposite and which one's adjacent. So now we're going to go on to actual trig functions. And our first function is called sine. And it's abbreviated SIN. It is not called sin. It's sine. It's just abbreviated. I know that it's only one letter abbreviated, but it's still sine. And sine of theta, so I'm going to come over here. Theta, Theta. It's a Greek letter. It's just a variable like x. Okay, and they usually use Greek letters for angles. Not always, but most of the time. So it's sine of theta, sine of some angle, equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so if I have a triangle, and I'm just going to draw one here. If I have a triangle, a right angle, and it's got side 3, side 10, and side 17. I don't know if that works, but I'm just choosing those numbers, okay? Then the sine of this angle, I'm going to call this angle theta. Okay? The sine of this angle right here, this one, I'm marking it, would be my side opposite. My side opposite, so I highlighted opposite in green. So I'm going to do this. This is my side opposite. I highlighted my side adjacent in, there we go. And my hypotenuse I highlighted in pink. If I just kind of want to go along with what I did in the top. So those are my sides. So opposite is 3. Okay, let's try this again. Opposite is 3 over 17. Done. That's it. That's how hard this is. That's all I'm doing right now. Okay, so now I'm going to define cosine, which is cos, C-O-S. Cosine of theta equals, cosine of theta is adjacent, the side adjacent over my hypotenuse. Okay, so I want the side adjacent, the side that makes this angle. I'm still doing the same thing. So what makes this angle? Well, 10 does. And my hypotenuse is still 17. And then if it's a fraction and I can simplify it, I'm going to go ahead and simplify it. These ones I can't, so I don't have to simplify. And then tangent is abbreviated tan. Tan of theta, or tangent of theta, equals opposite over adjacent. And my side opposite is 3, and my side adjacent is 10. And that's it. That's all I have to do. Okay? For those new people that haven't done this, and just a reminder for those of you that have. And then we have this weird word here that's called SOHCAHTOA. Okay, it's just a pneumatic way for you to remember what sine, cosine, and tangent equals. So it's the first letter of each word, and so it says sine equals opposite over hypotenuse, and it's just the first letter of each word. Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay. Oof. Keep forgetting to change back, so sorry. cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And then here's the first letter, C-A-H. S-O-H, so, C-A-H, ca. And then we have TOA, which is tangent equals opposite over adjacent. Okay? And so that's T-O-A, TOA. Okay? SOHCAHTOA. And that's just a little pneumatic way to remember, kind of like Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, or PEMDAS, however you want to say it, but it's SOHCAHTOA. So we're going to go ahead and go on, and we're just going to find some of this. It says, use the information from the given triangles to write the given trig ratios. So it tells me which angle I want to look at. So it says sine of A. So I'm going to mark A. That's the first angle I'm going to look at, A, okay? So sine, so if I'm going to write it out over here, so I know, sine equals, so, opposite over hypotenuse, right? So, SOHCAHTOA. Cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent equals opposite over adjacent. So those are what I'm looking for, okay? So A is sine. Sine is opposite. So the side opposite of A is 6, and my hypotenuse is 10. So this would be 6 over 10, which would be, I can simplify this now. So 6 over 10 simplified would be, let's see, 6 over 10, 3/5. Wow. Okay, and then the next one says cosine of A. So cosine says I need to find, cosine says adjacent over hypotenuse. So my side adjacent, what side makes the angle? Well, that would be 8 over 10, which is 4/5. Okay, and then tangent is my opposite over my adjacent. So, okay, so opposite over adjacent is 6 over 8, which would be 3/4. Awesome. Now it says, look what it says here. It says this time instead of A, it wants B. So now my angle of reference has changed. Now I want to go from here. And I want to find the same thing. So sine is my side opposite over my hypotenuse. So this time it's 8 over 10, which is 4/5. Okay, cosine is my side that's adjacent. So it's this side here, 6 over my hypotenuse. So 6 over 10, which equals 3/5. And then tangent, look, I've already got them highlighted, but I'm going to do it again for you. So it's highlighted is opposite, opposite over adjacent. So we know what it is again. So opposite is 8 over 6, which is 4 over 3. And if you look at those relationships, you can tell that they're slightly related to each other. Look, the angle's in the same one. Sine of A equals cosine of A. Sine of B equals cosine of A. And sine of A equals cosine of B. And then the tangents of each other are what? Well, they're reciprocals of each other, right? So there is a relationship between the sine, cosine, and tangent of the same angle. Just something for you to kind of think about, okay? Especially for those of you going into Sec 3 next year, you'll have to think about, they'll be more intense into the trig next year, so. Okay, so here we go. The last little section, it just says find the value of each trigonomic ratio. So we're gonna see what it says and just find the value. It just does, I don't have to find all 3 or 6 of them, just whatever it says. So the first one says find sine of A. So I need to find sine of A. That's what I'm looking for. So first I want to find angle A, which is here. So I'm going to mark angle A. And I know that sine is opposite, so the side opposite is this side. and hypotenuse is this side. So sine of angle A should be 40 over 50. And if I simplify that, that should be 4 over 5. Okay? And then we're going to go to the next one, which again is still sine. So we're still at sine. And we're looking for angle A again. So here's angle A. Different triangle. Most triangles are named ABC, but some of them aren't. So we'll see what it looks like. So sine is still side opposite. So side opposite is here. And then here's my hypotenuse. Okay. So what do I get? Side opposite equals 36 over 39. And I think 3 goes into each one of those. So that should be 12 over 13. Okay. Awesome. So here's our last 4 problems here. Okay, I'm gonna make them a little bigger here. And the next one says cosine of angle C this time. So I'm gonna look for cosine of angle C. Well, here's angle C. And cosine is the side adjacent and the side hypotenuse. So those are the ones that make angle C. So here's my hypotenuse, and here is my side adjacent. So that means I have 15 over 39 equals 15 over 39. And if I'm not mistaken, I think 3 goes into all of those. So that should be 5 over 13. Okay, so again, it looks like we're finding cosine of angle C. So angle C is here. And I know cosine makes the angle that I'm looking at, the 2 sides that make that angle. So it's looking at that one and this one. Okay, so the side adjacent would be 24. And the hypotenuse will be 40. And a little secret about sine and cosine, the bigger number is always going to be on the bottom on sine and cosine, always. That's not always true on tangent, but on sine and cosine, the bigger number is always in the denominator. So let's see, what goes into 24 and 40? I believe 8 does. So that should be 3/5. Okay, awesome. All right, now we're going to do tangent. Or the next problem, which happens to be tangent. So we have tangent of x. And I know tangent is anything but the hypotenuse. So this is the nice thing about tangent. It does not include the hypotenuse. So tangent of x, so this is the one I want. So it's the 2 sides that are not the hypotenuse. So those are my 2 sides that I want. And then tangent is opposite. So that equals 12 over 16. And 12 over 16 simplifies to 3/4. And we're doing the same thing again, tangent of C. Okay, so angle C is here. And again, tangent does not include the hypotenuse. So I need the side adjacent and the side opposite. So tangent is opposite. So here's my angle. Side opposite is 12. And adjacent is 35. And I'm pretty sure that one does not simplify. So we're done with that. And that's all you're going to do today. That's it. Okay, so you're going to have a few problems in the Nearpod, and then you're going to have some Delta math problems to do with this. And that's it. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.